which is related to a prevention of epidemic on a long-term basis. So this is the first story. Just see the picture. Some people who look like Africans who is carrying a chimpanzee. So this is a story. This is a place called Kinshasa. It's a Democratic Republic of Congo. And the people used to hunt chimpanzees there. And many eat chimps meat. And in this area, a disease got transmitted from chimpanzees to humans. And this Kinshasa, the peculiarity of this place is it's full of transport, links.
Sorry, your audio is not.
Yeah. Somebody has muted me. I have unmuted. Oh, it's okay, isn't it? Is it okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So this disease got transmitted from chimpanzees to humans there. And Kinshasa is something like a place like Cochin in Kerala or Bangalore in South India. It was an happening city full of transports and railways and everything. And this area also had growing sex trade. So a lot of professionals from Haiti working in Congo got the illness from this place. And in 1980s, all these things are happening in 1980s. And the same disease was identified in homosexuals, hemophiliacs, and heroin users. You know the peculiarity of these people. Hemophiliacs means it's a bleeding disorder and they need repeated blood transfusions. And the heroin you are all familiar with. And so Haiti, homosexual, hemophilia, and heroin. And all these four words together, they called it as the 4H. So this disease was common in these four groups, and this infection is nothing but what is called our AIDS or HIV. My slides are stuck. Okay, this is another disease. This disease first appeared again in monkeys in Africa in 1950s. And it took a long time, around 50 years later, it started appearing in human, first in 2007, then 2013. And finally, it became a very big pandemic in Brazil in 2015. And it appeared in 2016 in USA. And now this disease is also seen in India, especially northern parts of India. And the main manifestations of this infection is fever, headache, some affection of the eyes, joint pain, etc. And some of these people who got the infection, when they are pregnant, they delivered babies like this. You can see the peculiarity of these babies. They have a small head. In our language, it is called microcephaly. So otherwise, this infection was okay. The people had some, just like a viral fever, had some mild symptoms. But when pregnant females got this infection, they delivered babies with small head, and that was a very dreaded complication in pregnant females. And this virus was called the Zika virus. So another infection, which again started from monkeys, later reached human, and later turned out to be an epidemic, and these are the issues. So that is called the Zika virus. So this is another picture, and this tree, it's a very famous tree, and it also has a story to tell. And the story is a 2-year-old boy. His name is very complicated, Emile Omanu, who died in December 2013. He lived in remote villages in Guinea. He and his friends often played in the hollow tree near his home. And he got a peculiar disease, and he succumbed to that disease. And later, more than 21,000 people were affected by the same disease. And of these, around 8,400 died. That means around 1/3 of the total people who got infected died. And they believe that this epidemic may have started in a hollow tree. So they were buried, and as you know, everywhere there will be a lot of beliefs, and they also had some. They considered this tree as some haunted tree, and finally, what they did was they burned the tree, and after burning, they could see the dead bats falling from the tree like a rain of dead bats. That is what the description says. So this infection might have started from bats residing over the tree. The first candidate to get the infection may be this poor boy, only 2 years old. And from him, this infection reached around 20,000 people in the locality, of which more than 8,000 died. And this infection was later named as Ebola. Another famous picture, you might have already seen this picture. It's a picture from our own history textbooks. And this is in 1918, that is World War I. The American military men experienced fever and cough and sickened around 20 to 40% of the army. It interfered with all the programs of the army, that is training schedules, and almost 50% of them became non-effective. And finally, this illness killed more American soldiers and sailors than any enemy weapon. So an infection, a simple virus could kill soldiers more than any other enemies. And that was called the 1918 Spanish flu. And the virus behind this epidemic was an influenza virus. And the peculiarity of this influenza virus is it has a very high capacity to change. So it can enter birds, it can enter pigs, it can enter human, and whichever is the organism where these viruses get entry, they change their shape, they adapt they receive something from that host, they give something to that host, and they come out with a different structure and shape. And the virus coming out of this animal may be something completely new, completely different in its behavior, and it can infect a new host and produce a different sort of disease. That's the influenza virus is a very typical virus, which can be given as an example how a virus enters into a host. Host may be a human being, it can be a bird or an animal or anything, and it comes out of the animal in a different shape and different behavior. So what it results is, you can see the names changing. H1N1, you all may be familiar, but there is something called H2N2. It can be H3N2. It can be a lot of different numbers are given to this H and N. That just indicates that the change in structure of the virus. So the virus enters an animal, it changes its shape or structure, it attains some new characters, and it comes out of the host. So this sort of behavior is typical in influenza virus. So you can see the years written from 1900 to 2015, different types of influenza viruses causing problems in our human life. So the last one was a very famous H1N1 epidemic of 2019. It started around in South American countries. It then spread to USA, Canada, and almost throughout the world. It reached India also those times. That was a pandemic. Around 61 million cases and around 12,000 deaths in US alone. And it almost ended in 2010. But even now, it appears in our part of the world, even though it's not an epidemic now, but we get cases of H1N1 even today. So it produces, just like our COVID-19, it can affect the lungs, it can affect the brain, and there is a vaccine also. This is another story. When I was an MBBS student, this was a short note for me. And the disease is called a Cazeneur forest disease. So this even the textbook was saying this infection is seen in only one part of the world, that is the Shimoga district of Karnataka. So this infective organism lives in monkeys, and there will be episodes of deaths in monkeys as a group. A group of monkeys were found dead in these areas, and later it started affecting the human also. It caused deaths in human around the jungles. Only people who are exposed to these monkeys, the people who used to go into the forest for many purposes, maybe their occupation, or there may be some tribal people who are dependent on this forest, etc. And it was an exclusive disease of Karnataka state and only one particular district. But for the last 2 or 3 years, we are getting these sort of infections from Kerala, that is our own nearby district, Wayanad. So whenever a person comes with these sort of manifestations, that means fever, headache, bleeding, and some sort of involvement of the brain, now we also start suspecting that it's called, short form is KFD, or it's called a Casanur forest disease. So you can see the changing pattern from one state, it is reaching our place also. So this is another story. On February 29th, a Vietnam French hospital of Hanoi, they contacted the office of WHO. They suspected an avian influenza. That means we already described the influenza virus, and asked whether someone from WHO could take a look. So a doctor named Carlo Urbani, a specialist in infectious diseases, answered the call. He worked with the staff there, and he identified it as a new virus. It's not the previous H1N1 influenza virus, but it's something new. And his timely steps helped in containing the virus, and it saved so many lives. But he became symptomatic on March, and he fought the same virus for the next 18 days. This doctor expired on in the same year. And this epidemic and the virus he identified was named as SARS. It affected 26 countries around the world. There were around 8,000 cases. And again, the manifestations were almost similar to our COVID-19. So this was another virus which happened in around 2003, another type of influenza virus, and it was a type of our coronavirus. And finally, the 5th May of 2018, one young man came to the emergency department of Calicut Medical College. So we were a witness for this. He had fever, vomiting, and altered sensory. Altered sensory means abnormal behavior. So he had fever with abnormal behavior, and he showed some fits-like activities. And we were planning an imaging, brain imaging, means a CT scan of the brain. And he went for the CT scan, and at that place, he started developing severe breathlessness, breathing difficulty. And he was brought back to the emergency department, and we tried all our resuscitative measures. But in spite of all this, he expired within few hours' time. And within 1 or 2 weeks, his family members started developing symptoms, and many of them also expired. And we know the story about which virus I am talking. And you can see 2 pictures. One, the above photograph is from the patients who expired due to Nipah virus in Calicut. And the picture at the bottom shows the event from Africa due to Ebola. It looks almost similar. So one is from Calicut and the other one is from Africa. This is a story of Nipah virus. So this is again the picture above is from Calicut and the picture below is from Africa. So then came, this was one of the first reports of coronavirus, the first death outside China. That is what it says. Initially it was believed that it's an and a disease exclusively of that Wuhan province of China. And you can see how the WHO responded. WHO doesn't declare an emergency yet. They didn't feel that it's an emergency, and they didn't even feel that it is a pandemic. And you know how the stories changed later and how it changed the world over 1 year time. So this is the picture from the Wuhan market. The animals are killed, and their market, a very famous market, which was later closed after the initiation of this epidemic. This is also a picture which is said to be from Chinese markets where these animals are sold. So around 13,000, more than 13,000 infections are said to be in the world, which can affect the human being. And 16% of all deaths are caused by one of these infections. And these infections can be an established, newly emerging infection, or it can be an infection which is re-emerging. Re-emerging means once it was very rampant and then it disappeared from earth and again it reappeared. Such type of infections. So I have been giving some examples of such infections. So if we recollect the stories which I was describing, the first one was HIV. The HIV, the infection came from chimpanzees in an African country, in a group of people who used to hunt chimpanzees and who used to eat chimpanzee meat. The second one was Zika virus. Again, first occurred in monkeys. Around 50 years later, it started appearing in human. The next one was different types of influenza viruses, which has different names depending on the structure of the virus. Again, you can see a common link of either a bird or a pig or some sort of animal in between. Then came to the Nipah virus. The virus came from bats. Then the last one was our coronavirus, again, which is said to have some connection with the animals, animal meat, bats, etc. So a lot of infections, a lot of emerging infections, epidemics. You can see the different years and different names of infections, which we need not read out all these names, but you just remember that almost every 10 years we are getting something new epidemics or pandemics, so and so. So for any infection, there are three important factors. One is the pathogen. That means, as an example in COVID, we have the coronavirus as the pathogen. Then the host, for us, it is a human being who is the host. And there should be an environment which favors this infection. So these three things together make an infection possible. So is there a relationship between climate change and infections? Is there any, we have been attributing climate change to so many things. So is there any evidence to say that a climate change and infection are related? So this is, it's a type of water snail, and there is one disease called, again, the names, I don't know whether you like to hear all these names. It's called a schistosomiasis, common in Japan and those areas. And they first noted in some particular climate, this infection is rampant there because this water snail grows well in some particular climate, and those periods when people take bath in these rivers or drink this water, they used to get this type of infection. So again, this is one of the commonest vector which causes infection in human being. It's the most dangerous living being which can cause harm to it's not, if somebody asks you, what is the most, it's not lion or a tiger or something like that. It's the mosquito that can cause the maximum number of deaths on earth in human beings. So again, if you see the growth pattern of mosquitoes, you can see that it is closely related to the climatic change. It is closely related to human behavior. So the mosquito development, mosquito breeding, everything is highly dependent on the climatic change. So you can see how this depend on the climatic change. That means you are all aware when there is a rainy season, you get a lot of water collection everywhere. There is a breeding of mosquitoes, and you can see the dengue fever. 1 week or 2 weeks after a rainy season, monsoon season, we get a lot of cases of dengue fever. And so and so. I am not going to describe all the relationship between the climate and vectors. It just we need to remind ourselves that it's closely related. And humidity, again, a lot of infections, not only mosquitoes, there are so many agents, vectors. Vectors means the agent which carry the virus or the infective organism to our body. So these vectors are highly dependent on either the rain or the climate or the... And temperature again. For example, the dengue fever itself. When the temperature increases, the virus inside the mosquito develops very fast. So the virus is inside the mosquito. The mosquito breeding is dependent on water availability. The virus inside the mosquito, the growth is highly dependent on temperature. So you can see that when the temperature increases from 25 degree to around 30-32 degrees, the development of the virus occurs very fast. So when you get a rainfall immediately after a hot climate, that occurs typically in Kerala. That means we have a hot summer followed by a monsoon. So that is the most favorable environment for a dengue virus to flourish. So in the hot climate, the virus develops in mosquito fast. And when rainy season occurs, the mosquito starts breeding. So a lot of cases of dengue fever occurs during this. So that's just an example how it is related. So for a dengue virus or a dengue fever, the best climate on earth would be seen in our own part, that is Kerala. So it's not a story of dengue virus alone. There are a lot of examples. That's a malaria. You must have heard of cholera. Again, it increases during the hot summer. Salmonella means the bacteria which causes the typhoid fever. So all these bacteria and viruses have some relationship between the climatic changes. And what about the climate? This topic maybe you may be better aware or more expert than me. I won't be going to the details, but you have lot of evidences to say that our world is getting warmer and warmer. So these are the different indicators to say that the temperature is keeping on increasing. So a global average surface temperature increased in 20th century is around 0.74 degrees centigrade. And in 21st century, it may be up to the level of 5 degrees. If it goes on like this, it can be up to the level of 5 degrees. So you can also see the changes in climate in the form of the picture is from our own place. We have never witnessed such a gross change in climate during our lifetime. You can see the last few years we were witnessing this unprecedented rainfalls. And you can see just an example. This is the leptospirosis. The common name is Ehlers or Weil's disease. Ehlers, you may be aware, or commonly it is called as a Weil's disease, and the technical term is leptospirosis. You can see the trend of leptospirosis, the graph showing in our own college. This is following flood. So how the number of Ehlers has increased following a flood. So that's a simple example how these changes influence the occurrence of different infections. So I would read out, it's a story which came in Reader's Digest. It's not a medical literature or something. In 1997, clouds of smoke hung over rainforest of Indonesia as an area roughly the size of Pennsylvania was burned to make way for agriculture. The fires exacerbated by drought. Smothered in haze, the trees couldn't produce fruit, leaving resident fruit bats with no other option than to fly elsewhere in search of food, carrying with them a deadly disease. Not long after, the bats settled in trees in Malaysian orchards. Pigs around them started to fall sick. Presumably after eating fallen fruits the bats had bibbled on, as did local pig farmers. By 1999, 265 people had developed a severe brain inflammation and 105 had died. It was the first known emergence of Nipah virus in people, which has since caused a string of recurrent outbreaks across Southeast Asia. So this was the first report of Nipah virus, and you can see the changes that was closely associated with the occurrence of Nipah virus, but this story was often forgotten. So there was a loss of food for these bats, and they were wandering for their food, and they relocated to a new place, and from there, that area, the local pig farmers got the infection first. Once it infects the human being, then we don't need another bat to carry it. It can be transmitted from one human to another, and that forms the epidemic. So first, it comes from the bats. The bats come for their food. They bring the virus. They give it to an human, and a human starts transmitting to another human, and there occurs an epidemic. So that's a typical story of a new epidemic. So deforestation is leading to more infectious disease in human. This was the heading of this story which I read out just before. And it was given in some medical papers also, the climatic origins of Malaysian Nipah virus. So we were all surprised why we are getting new viruses, why Kerala is witnessing new viruses which has never heard of. Nipah virus, from all of a sudden, from where this virus is coming, why bats are transmitting. So there are some answers to all these questions when we think about this carefully. So a lot of fevers from jungle, HIV, Ebola, Nipah, Zika, all infections I have already described, all these came from jungle. That means these viruses were all present inside the jungle. They were very safe inside the body of some animals. Either we went into the forest or we made them come out of the forest. And now we are suffering with all these infections. So this is one big study that is named as PREDICT. That is a sampling in rainforest. Chapati. Okay. Sampling in rainforest for around 7 years, and they found that is just rainforest. They went inside and they started sampling different sources from animals, plants, and water everywhere, and they could find more than 1,000 viruses inside a forest. And just sampling a single bat, they could identify 48 new and 16 already known viruses. So you have to know the number of viruses which could be isolated from a single bat. So a bat is a reservoir of virus. So this has been happening for a long years. These bats were living with all these viruses, this Nipah virus or Zika virus or Ebola virus. Nothing is a new thing for them, but it is new for us. So why these viruses come out of these jungles? These pictures are self-explanatory. I need not explain any of these photographs. So you can see how these viruses come in search of a human. And you can see the glaciers. Once it was like this, and now it is like this. Again, a poor fellow searching for his shelter. And a recent thing came out, an ancient, never before seen viruses discovered locked up in Tibetan glaciers. So we feel that these viruses cannot exist in these ices and freezing temperatures, minus degrees and all, but it's not true. Even inside these ice and glaciers, there are thousands of viruses locked in. And if we give a chance for them, if we invite them, they will definitely come in search of us, and we will have to face newer and newer epidemics. So again, this was another paper came from Kerala. This is a prediction of dengue outbreak based on our own climatic change, how our humidity, how our temperature and rainfalls can predict the future epidemics of dengue fever. So what is the main difference between a microorganism and man is, for Homo sapiens, for a 2% change in our genetic sequence, we need 8 million years. At the same time, for a virus, it needs only less than 1 day for a 2% change. So the changes which can happen in us over millions of years is taking place in a virus within a minutes or hours time. So the virus goes in with one shape and comes out in another shape. So the virus coming out in a new shape can be a completely new virus for us, and it can infect all of us. Nobody will be immune, and all of us get infected, and the whole world is in a standstill, just like that is happening in the COVID-19 now. So on one side, the microbes continuously change, adapt, emerge and re-emerge, and they persist. And the opposite side, we try all our public health, biomedical research, and all the measures are on the other side. So the war is going on between the microbes and human being. So lot of things complicate there. Our frequent traveling, you know how fast a virus can get translocated from China, later to Italy, European countries, Iran, then the USA, Brazil, and then finally India, Kerala, and all. No part of the world is spared from a single virus. And densely populated areas, so it's very easy for the transmission of virus. Close contact with wild animals, as I was giving an example of KFD in Wayanad and Karnataka, how the monkeys virus got transferred to human being. Destruction of ecology, that is the most important or number one thing that is responsible for the newer and newer viruses. Definitely poverty, wars, everything also contribute. But still, this was a statement from Donald Trump few years back, that is 2014. And the last part you can read, the global warming is an expensive hoax. So to convince Donald Trump that there is something called global warming, it took years. So that is our attitude towards the climatic changes, global warming, etc. So we were keeping on saying, when I was a student, I was repeatedly hearing the story of global warming and how the rainfall will be affected, how the floods are going to happen, how the a lot of famines and a lot of things. But we were never convinced, and we won't be convinced also. That is a human nature. And many of us, especially at least few of you, will be students now, and you will be thinking, what I can do? It's a global warming, everything is a universal thing. And how sitting at my home, what difference can I make? So there are something called, you can see the share of the how the carbon dioxide emission and all these things happen. You can see at least a small share is from us, that is office, reading, medical. So the paper we use, the travel, how we travel, all these make a difference. So even though it is a minor contribution, if we are convinced it's a fact, so we can make a small change, and a small change if we all work together, it may be a significant change. And you just compare a disease which infects 50% of population and kills only 1%, and a disease that infects only 1% but kills 50% of infected. So if a disease, if it happens, it kills 50%. That means half of the people will be dead by that infection. At the same time, the other one affects 50% of population, but only 1% is, it kills only 1%. So which infection you are going to respect more? Definitely the second. So when the Nipah happened here, people were so afraid, people were so obedient, people were respecting everything because the chance of death if somebody gets this Nipah was very, very high. But at the same time, the COVID infection, the chance of getting infection is so high, but the chance of death is low. So that is all human behavior. So when the chance of death comes high, we naturally respect these things. So something that won't kill us, we are not that afraid. And not only this one, so look at this picture. So suppose this is our children, what will be our reaction? If it is my child, I'll be so terrified by this picture, isn't it? Because she is taking such a risk, a waterfall, rock, a lot of stories we have heard. So we are not going to allow our children. But if I am in this position, I take this as a risk-taking behavior. I am going to enjoy this, and myself might have done these things so many times. So the people realize the dangers of all these things. The people know, but when it is applied to our own life, we often forget the risk. So that happens in driving without helmet, driving without seat belt, taking such risky behaviors. All these things, when it is done by a person, we don't bother about the consequences much. At the same time, when it is done by a second person, you are going to advise him, hey, don't do like that. It's a very dangerous thing. It's not at all good for you. And something happens to this child, again, we will blame her. That should not, it should not have done, and her parents should not have allowed that. So we realize all these things, and we know the consequences of all these things. Another example is cigarette smoking. Everyone knows the complication of cigarette smoking, but a complication that can happen so many years later, we often neglect it. And a complication that can have some chance, that means in 100 only 1 or 2 can develop, we often neglect that. That's a typical human behavior. So you can see these things are going on happening, but we are very well aware that it's not good for our health. It can have a lot of problems, but still we continue doing all these things. And we continue doing so many things in our life which can be dangerous to ourselves. That is on an acute basis, like a person not wearing a helmet or not wearing a seat belt. At the same time, there are some things which are not that prominent. That means a wasting of a paper or a unnecessary usage of our cars and vehicles, emissions of carbon dioxide. All these things are very, they appear to be very mild or minor things which may not have a direct consequence, but on total, as a whole in the world, it can have a lot of changes in the world. And we would realize that many of the problems faced by the human beings now is our own creation. So a healthy life means it's not healthy human alone. We need a healthy animals, healthy environment, and that only can make our health also proper. So that is called the concept of One Health. So this is the message I want to convey today. Even a very minor step from our part may have some impact. It may help to prevent, at least not, even though we are suffering everything now, we have only some acute preventive strategies now, like wearing mask or social distancing or taking a vaccine or something like that. But we have to think for our future, or at least our children's future. Again, years to come, we need to expect more and more such epidemics and more such viruses which can be more dangerous than this. So we need to take some steps to prevent the occurrence of such epidemics. So that's all from my part. If you have anything to share or ask, I would be happy to.
Audience, if you have any doubt, you can ask via unmuting or through chat. One doubt, sir, can you say some information on plague?
On
Plague.
plague. Okay, this was just a similar epidemic, once a dreaded disease, and it's an organism which is transmitted by rats. And a few years, 50, 100 years back, it was a similar epidemic, and the mortality was very high compared to COVID or even H1N1. The mortality of plague is very high. And the main reason was the unhygienic environment those days, because a lot of rats in their surroundings. And when some of the infections like plague disappeared, when our the development, our lifestyle improved, our way of living became better, and our developmental index improved. So when the hygiene was better, the plague also almost disappeared. And recently we had few episodes here and there, but we could control it easily.
Sir, next question is, which virus causes this plague?
That's not a virus, it's a type of bacteria. Its name itself is the same name is used for that, and it is transmitted by rats. If you want to know more about plague, I don't know the other audience will they entertain or not. There are different types. One is called a pneumonic plague. That means it is affects more of the lungs, and it's something like a pneumonia itself. And that is the main cause of death in plague.
Audience? You can ask out if you have any. You can unmute and ask. Sir, one more doubt. Why is COVID that much prevalent in animals?
COVID, we can't say it is so much prevalent in animals. COVID, we are not even sure whether it is present in animals, because only postulation is when we got a COVID virus first, when it was first isolated from China, they tried to isolate similar viruses from other animals to know the source of infection. So they could get some similar viruses of similar structure from bats. So they postulated that the source may be bats. And they tried to isolate the virus from many other animals also, but they couldn't exactly pinpoint which animal is the source of this virus. Even now, we are not 100% sure. It's just a postulation that bats may be the origin, and in between bats and human, there can be some other animal which is sold in their wet markets of Wuhan. That's just a postulation. It's not completely proved, and it is prevalent in human. It is the reason is, as you all know, it is easily transmitted, because from one person to another person, transmission is very easy in case of COVID. Just sneezing or coughing or even talking, a person who is infected, when he talks or he has some sort of symptoms, even it is said to be transmitted through our normal breathing air. So it's very easily transmitted. And another reason why it is so prevalent is it is something of a new type of virus. So how we become resistant is by getting infections, isn't it? So an infection which we already are exposed, like chickenpox. I got chickenpox in the childhood. So majority of the people will be protected. So a virus which is already there on earth for so many years, many of the people will be already infected and they will be resistant. But this COVID-19 came all of a sudden in a new form. Okay, so nobody is exposed to such a virus. So when such a virus appears on earth, so almost all human beings on earth are susceptible to this virus. So anyone who come across this virus will get infected. So it is so prevalent compared to other infections. I think that may be the question.
Actually, there was she is saying that there was a typo mistake. That is, she meant why it is not prevalent in animals. That was
okay.
what
So
she meant.
again, we are not in a position to comment about the presence of COVID in animals, because it's an ongoing research part, and we are trying to. We means the scientists are trying to isolate this virus from, and they are trying to find out the source of virus. Even I think few days back, a new paper had come. There was a isolation of some coronaviruses from this pangolin animal, and even in that they could not say that it is completely similar. There are some differences. So what happens is the virus which enters the bat comes out in a different way, and it may enter some other animal like a pangolin, and a lot of genetic resortment happens inside the animal. It's like just mixing up together. So it's like children playing with clay and all. Some they take some yellow, some green, and they mix all these together and they bring out something, some new color. Just similar to that, this virus also, they enter the body and they take so many things from the body. They bring with them something, and finally they come out with a new model.
Sir, is there any study on the durability of antibody?
Antibody, again, it is yet to come. All these things we are not sure. It may be up to 3 months to 6 months. That is what we expect now. A lifelong immunity is not yet known, because we are getting few reinfections now. So 3 months maybe, and maximum 6 months. That is what we believe now. But we need more and more time, because only 1 year has passed after the beginning of this virus. So we are yet to see.
Okay, sir. Next question. Are the vaccines for COVID very much effective?
Are they effective?
Yes.
Are they effective? The studies till now tell us that they are effective. because again, these are all small studies. We don't have very much number of studies or number of people who took vaccine and all. Around, for example, the Covishield virus, Covishield or Oxford vaccine, which was earlier given in India. They did a trial in around 20,000 people in Brazil, UK, and all. And there they found an efficacy of more than 70%. And how long it will last, again, we'll have to keep waiting, because all these are postulations. Only time will tell us whether it will remain for more than 1 year, or whether every year we may have to take influenza vaccine and all. We will have to take vaccine every year. So in European countries, they take a flu shot. That is what they call. Every year they study the virus, the shape of the virus, the structure of the virus, and they make vaccines according to that. And every year they take a influenza vaccine. So we don't know whether we will have to take again year after year, or one shot may be enough. Again, all these things we need to wait and see.
Ma'am,
And for the time being, we believe that this vaccine should be effective. Let us have a positive faith. Today was my second dose of vaccine. So I believe that it would help me to prevent a COVID infection. Till now, I am not infected. Believe so.
In between, one person has unmuted. I think she can ask. I don't know who has done that. Ma'am, please.
Ma'am, boyo.
Sir, ഈ ന്യൂ സ്ട്രെയിൻ ഓഫ് കൊറോണ വൈറസ് അല്ലേ, അപ്പൊ അത് പഴയതിനെക്കാട്ടും കൂടുതൽ പ്രശ്നക്കാരിയാണ്, അങ്ങനെ എന്തെങ്കിലും ഉണ്ടോ?
ഈ പറഞ്ഞ ഈ മ്യൂട്ടേഷൻസ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ആക്ച്വലി ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് എ കണ്ടിന്യൂസ് പ്രോസസ്. അതാണ് ഞാൻ നേരത്തെ എക്സ്പ്ലെയിൻ ചെയ്യാൻ ശ്രമിച്ചത്. പിന്നെ വൈറസുകളെ സംബന്ധിച്ചിടത്തോളം മ്യൂട്ടേഷൻ നടന്നുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കും. അതെന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ, പിന്നെ നമ്മുടെ ഈ സെൽസ് മൾട്ടിപ്ലൈ ചെയ്യുമ്പം, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇങ്ങനെ ഡിവൈഡ് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുമ്പം ഒരുപാട് എറേഴ്സ് ഉണ്ടാവും. ഇപ്പൊ നമ്മുടെ ഹ്യൂമൻ ബോഡിയിലാണെങ്കിൽ പോലും when there is a multiplication, നമ്മുടെ ഈ ഇത് നടക്കുമ്പോൾ നമ്മുടെ DNA, RNA പരിപാടികളിലൊക്കെ ഒരുപാട് എറേഴ്സ് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അങ്ങോട്ടും ഇങ്ങോട്ടും മാറിപ്പോവുക. പിന്നെ ഇപ്പൊ നമ്മളെ ഈ മുത്തുമണിയൊക്കെ മാല കോർക്കുന്ന പോലെയാ. അപ്പോൾ കുറെ കളറുള്ള ഒരു മാലയാണെങ്കിൽ ഒരു കളർ അങ്ങോട്ടും ഇങ്ങോട്ടും മാറിപ്പോവുക. അങ്ങനത്തെ സംഭവങ്ങൾ ഫ്രീക്വന്റ്ലി സംഭവിക്കും. പക്ഷെ ഹ്യൂമനിലൊക്കെ എന്താ വെച്ചാൽ നല്ല വെൽ ഡെവലപ്ഡ് ഓർഗാനിസം ആണെങ്കിൽ there will be correcting steps. There will be a lot of system to correct all these mistakes. ഈ virus being a very small organism, it has nothing to correct and all. So if there is a mistake, that mistake will be there. This mistake can happen any time or all time. Any multiplication, multiplication cycles, these mistakes will keep on happening. And these mistakes are actually called as a mutation. So since they don't have a correcting step, these mistakes will be permanent. So some of these mistakes may make the death of the virus. That will be the end of the virus. അതോടുകൂടി ചിലപ്പോൾ അതിന്റെ മൾട്ടിപ്ലിക്കേഷൻ പരിപാടി നിന്ന് പോകും. അതേസമയം ചില സാധനങ്ങൾ എന്തെങ്കിലും ഭയങ്കര ഡിഫറൻസ് എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ഇൻഫെക്ടിവിറ്റി, ഒരാൾക്ക് പകരാനുള്ള സാധ്യത കൂട്ടുന്ന രീതിയിൽ, അതല്ലെങ്കിൽ രോഗം കൂടുതൽ കഠിനമാകുന്ന രീതിയിൽ, അങ്ങനെ പല രീതിയിലും ഈ മ്യൂട്ടേഷൻസിന് കോൺട്രിബ്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. അപ്പം മെജോറിറ്റി ഓഫ് മ്യൂട്ടേഷൻസ് കൊണ്ടും ഒരു മാറ്റവും ശരിക്കും വൈറസിന്റെ സ്വഭാവത്തിൽ ഉണ്ടാവില്ല. ഈവൻ ദോ നമ്മൾ ജനറ്റിക് പിന്നെ സീക്വൻസിങ്, അതാണ് അതിന് പറയുക, അതിന്റെ ശരിക്കുള്ള ജനിതക ഘടന എന്ന് പറയുന്ന സാധനം. അതായത് ജനറ്റിക് സീക്വൻസ് എന്താണെന്ന് നോക്കുമ്പോൾ നമ്മുടെ വുഹാനിൽ വന്ന വൈറസിനെ ഇപ്പം നമ്മളെ കേരളത്തിലെ വൈറസിനെയും കമ്പയർ ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഒരുപാട് ഡിഫറൻസുകൾ ഉണ്ടാവും. ആ ഡിഫറൻസ് എല്ലാം ആർ കോൾഡ് മ്യൂട്ടേഷൻസ്. ഈ മ്യൂട്ടേഷൻസിൽ 99%നും ഒരു ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻസും ഉണ്ടാവില്ല. ജസ്റ്റ് അങ്ങോട്ടും ഇങ്ങോട്ടും ചെറിയ ചെറിയ മാറ്റങ്ങൾ നമുക്ക് ഐഡന്റിഫൈ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. ബട്ട് ദാറ്റ് ഡസ് നോട്ട് മേക്ക് എനി ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻറ്റ് ഡിഫറൻസ് ഇൻ ദ ബിഹേവിയർ ഓഫ് ദ വൈറസ്. ഇപ്പൊ നമ്മളിപ്പം UK വന്നിരിക്കുന്ന സ്ട്രെയിൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഈസ് വൺ ഓഫ് സച്ച് മ്യൂട്ടേഷൻസ്. ബട്ട് ദേ തിങ്ക് ദാറ്റ്, അതും തിങ്ക് ആണ് കേട്ടോ, എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ 100% ഒന്നും അല്ല, ഇത് മറ്റേതിനേക്കാൾ മുമ്പുണ്ടായതിനേക്കാൾ കുറച്ചും കൂടെ ഇൻഫെക്റ്റീവ് ആണെന്ന്. എന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ കുറച്ചും കൂടെ പെട്ടെന്ന് സ്പീഡിൽ പകരാൻ സാധ്യത ഉണ്ട്. അപ്പൊ ആദ്യം തന്നെ കോവിഡ് ഭയങ്കര പകർച്ച നമുക്കറിയാലോ. പിന്നെ അതിനേക്കാൾ ഇച്ചിരി കൂടി സ്പീഡിൽ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അത്രയും ഫാസ്റ്റ് ആവും എന്നർത്ഥം. പക്ഷേ അത് കൂടുതൽ ഡേഞ്ചർ ഉണ്ടാക്കും എന്നൊന്നും അവർ പറഞ്ഞിട്ടില്ല. അതേപോലെ ഇപ്പൊ സൗത്ത് ആഫ്രിക്കയിൽ ഒരു സംഭവം വന്നു. സൗത്ത് ആഫ്രിക്കയിൽ അവർക്ക് ഇപ്പൊ ഒരു സംശയം എന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മുടെ ഓക്സ്ഫോർഡിൽ നിന്ന് ഉണ്ടാക്കിയ വാക്സിൻ ചിലപ്പം അവിടെ വന്നിരിക്കുന്ന സ്ട്രെയിന് ചിലപ്പോൾ എഫക്റ്റീവ് ആവില്ല എന്ന് അവർക്കൊരു സംശയം വന്നു. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് അവരിപ്പം ഈ വാക്സിൻ തൽക്കാലം നിർത്തിവെക്കാന്നൊക്കെ ഒരു തീരുമാനം എടുത്തത്. അതൊക്കെ ഈ പറഞ്ഞ സ്ട്രക്ചർ വെച്ചിട്ട് പറയുന്നതാ. ഇതുവരെ കോവിഡിന്റെ പുതിയ ചേഞ്ചസ് ഒന്നും ഭയങ്കര ഡേഞ്ചറസ് ആകുന്ന രീതിയിൽ, അതാണല്ലോ നമുക്ക് ഏറ്റവും ബേജാറ്, എന്നുവെച്ചാൽ ഡിസീസ് ഭയങ്കര സ്ട്രോങ് ആക്കുക അല്ലെ കൂടുതൽ ആൾക്കാരെ കൊല്ലുന്ന രീതിയിലൊന്നുള്ള മ്യൂട്ടേഷൻസ് വന്നതായിട്ട് ഇതുവരെ എവിടെയും എവിഡൻസ് ഒന്നുമില്ല.
താങ്ക് യു സർ.
Next question, what is mean by 4H?
അല്ല 4H എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഞാൻ ജസ്റ്റ് HIV-യുടെ ഒരു ഇത് കഥ പറയാൻ വേണ്ടി പറഞ്ഞു തന്നേ ഉള്ളൂ. എന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാല് പിന്നെ ഹോമോസെക്ഷൽസ്, ഹെറോയിൻ, ഹീമോഫീലിയ, ഹെയ്ത്തി എല്ലാം കൂടെ. എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ആ ഹെയ്ത്തി എന്ന് പറയുന്ന സ്ഥലത്താണ് ഫസ്റ്റ് ഈ HIV കണ്ടുപിടിക്കുന്നത്, ആ ഭാഗത്താണ്. അപ്പൊ ആ ഭാഗത്ത് ഇറ്റ് വാസ് എ ന്യൂ ഇൻഫെക്ഷൻ. ദേ ഡിഡ്ന്റ് നോ വാട്ട് ഈസ് ഇറ്റ്. സോ ഇൻഫെക്ഷൻ, ദ പെക്യുലാരിറ്റി ഓഫ് ദിസ് ഇൻഫെക്ഷൻ വാസ് ദേ വർ having a lot of other diseases. Some people were having tuberculosis, some were having malignancies and different sorts of, so their body were susceptible to a lot of organisms, bacteria, virus, fungus, ellam keri kooduna type. That means their immunity is gone. When this infection occurs, their immunity is gone. That was the first identification. And this disease was identified in particularly 4 groups. One is people from Haiti, one is in hemophilia, that is one type of disease. Heroin users, എന്നുവെച്ചാൽ IV drug abuse ഉള്ള ആൾക്കാരിൽ, പിന്നെ ഹോമോസെക്ഷൽസിൽ. അപ്പം ഈ 4H കൂടി വരുന്നതുകൊണ്ടാണ് അവരതിനെ 4H എന്നുള്ള വാക്ക് ഉപയോഗിച്ചത്. പിന്നെ അത് മനസ്സിലായി ഇത് അങ്ങനത്തെ ഒരു ഡിസീസ് അല്ല, അതിന്റെ ശരിക്കും HIV എന്ന് പറയുന്ന വൈറസ് ആണെന്നും ഇത് വന്ന വഴി ഇങ്ങനെയാണെന്നൊക്കെ പിന്നെ മനസ്സിലായി.
Okay, sir. Next, I think Nikit is curious to know your specialization area.
ഞാൻ ഇപ്പൊ ഇവിടെ ജനറൽ മെഡിസിൻ എന്ന് പറയും, കോഴിക്കോട് മെഡിക്കൽ കോളേജിൽ. സ്പെഷ്യലൈസേഷൻ എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ഇപ്പൊ മിക്കവാറും കോവിഡിൽ തന്നെയാണ് ഇത് വന്നതിന് ശേഷം. അതർവൈസ് ഇന്റേണൽ മെഡിസിൻ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മുടെ സാധാരണ ഇൻഫെക്ഷൻസും ബാക്കി ലൈഫ് സ്റ്റൈൽ ഡിസീസസ്, ബാക്കി ജനറലായിട്ട് വരുന്ന അസുഖങ്ങളൊക്കെ അല്ലേ, പോയിസണിങ്, പാമ്പ് കടി, അങ്ങനത്തെ കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെയാണ് മെയിനായിട്ട് നോക്കുക. അപ്പൊ ഇപ്പൊ കുറച്ച് നാളായിട്ട് കോഴിക്കോട് എപ്പോഴും ഇൻഫെക്ഷൻസുമായിട്ട് കെട്ടിമറിയാനേ സമയം കിട്ടാറുള്ളൂ. ഇപ്പൊ ലാസ്റ്റ് 1 year ആയിട്ട് ത്രൂ ഔട്ട് കോവിഡ് തന്നെയാണ്, വേറെ ഒന്നിലും ഇതുവരെ കോൺസെൻട്രേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റിയില്ല.
Okay, sir. One more doubt, that is there any relation between changing lifestyles and new infections? And as a student, what we can do to avoid this or prevent this?
Lifestyle has a definite role because നമ്മുടെ ഈ പറഞ്ഞ പല കമ്മ്യൂണിക്കബിൾ ഡിസീസ്, ഇപ്പൊ ഇൻഫെക്ഷൻ, ഇപ്പൊ നമ്മുടെ കോവിഡിന്റെ കാര്യത്തിൽ മാത്രം എടുക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ കോവിഡ് ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ ഡേഞ്ചർ ആയിരിക്കുന്നത് ഒന്ന് പ്രായമുള്ള ആൾക്കാരിൽ, പലതരത്തിലുള്ള വേറെ രോഗമുള്ള ആൾക്കാരിൽ. ആൻഡ് ദ തേർഡ് ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻറ്റ് ഫാക്ടർ വാസ് ഒബീസിറ്റി, എന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ തടി, ഓവർ വെയ്റ്റ്. അപ്പൊ ഡയബറ്റീസും ഓവർ വെയ്റ്റും കോവിഡ് വന്ന ആളുകളിൽ വലിയ പ്രശ്നം ഉണ്ടാക്കിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഓൾ യങ് പേഷ്യൻസ് ഹു ആർ ഹാവിങ് എ വെരി ബാഡ് ഡിസീസ് ഡ്യൂ ടു കോവിഡ് വർ ഹാവിങ് ഓവർ വെയ്റ്റ്. അപ്പം ലൈഫ് സ്റ്റൈല് ഡെഫിനറ്റ്ലി ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻ്റ് ആണ്. കാരണം ഫ്യൂച്ചറിൽ നമുക്ക് ഇങ്ങനത്തെ ഇൻഫെക്ഷൻസ് ഒക്കെ വരുമ്പോൾ നമ്മുടെ ഇമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റി തന്നെ വലിയൊരു റോൾ ഉണ്ട്. അപ്പൊ ഇമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റി ടു ഓൾ ദീസ് വൈറസസ് ഡിപ്പെൻഡ് ഓൺ അവർ ഹെൽത്തി ലൈഫ് സ്റ്റൈൽ. അപ്പം യങ് ആൾക്കാരൊക്കെ പരമാവധി ആക്റ്റീവ് ആവുക, എക്സസൈസ് ചെയ്യുക, ഓവർ വെയ്റ്റ് ഒഴിവാക്കുക, ജങ്ക് ഫുഡ്സ് മിനിമൈസ് ചെയ്യുക. അപ്പൊ ചെറിയ പ്രായമാകുമ്പോൾ കംപ്ലീറ്റ് ഒഴിവാക്കാൻ ഞാൻ പറയുന്നില്ല, പക്ഷെ ഒരു 30+40 ഒക്കെ ആണെങ്കിൽ ഡെഫിനറ്റ്ലി അവോയ്ഡ് ഓൾ ജങ്ക് ഫുഡ്സ്, കീപ് എ ഹെൽത്തി ലൈഫ്, ഈറ്റ് മോർ വെജിറ്റബിൾസ്, മോർ ഫ്രൂട്ട്സ്, ഡ്രിങ്ക് plenty of water, rest properly, sleep well. രാത്രി 12 മണി 2 മണി വരെ മൊബൈൽ കളിച്ചിരിക്കരുത്, നേരത്തെ കിടന്നുറങ്ങണം. രാവിലെ എണീറ്റിട്ട് പറ്റുന്നതും കളിക്കാൻ പോകാൻ പറ്റുമെങ്കിൽ ഡെഫിനറ്റ്ലി പോകണം. ഇപ്പോൾ ഫുട്ബോൾ കളിക്കാൻ ചാൻസ് ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഒരാൾ നിർത്തിക്കളയരുത്, ഇപ്പൊ ഏതെങ്കിലും പ്രൊഫഷണൽ കോഴ്സിലൊക്കെ പോയി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ കളിക്കുന്ന ആൾക്കാരൊക്കെ നിർത്തുക എന്നുള്ളത് ഒരു കോമൺ കാഴ്ചയാണ്. സോ ഡെഫിനറ്റ്ലി നമ്മുടെ എന്താണോ നമ്മൾ പണ്ട് കുട്ടിക്കാലത്ത് കളിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരുന്നത് അത് കണ്ടിന്യൂ ചെയ്യണം. ഇനി അത് പറ്റാത്ത ആൾക്കാരാണെങ്കിൽ പുതിയ എന്തെങ്കിലും മിനിമം നടത്തം, അതല്ലെങ്കിൽ വേറെ എന്തെങ്കിലും എക്സസൈസ് ചെയ്യാനുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ അത് ഡെഫിനറ്റ്ലി ചെയ്യണം. അപ്പം ഇത്രയും സാധനങ്ങൾ, എക്സസൈസ്, റെസ്റ്റ്, ഹെൽത്തി ഫുഡ്, ഇത്രയും കാര്യങ്ങൾ സാധാരണ നമ്മൾ പറയുക ഡയബറ്റീസും ഹൈപ്പർ ടെൻഷനും എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ പ്രമേഹം, പ്രഷർ, ഇതൊക്കെ പ്രിവെന്റ് ചെയ്യാനാണ് പറയുക. പക്ഷേ ഇറ്റ് ഹാസ് എ വെരി ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻറ്റ് റോൾ ഇൻ പ്രിവെന്റിങ് ഇൻഫെക്ഷ്യസ് ഡിസീസസ് ഓൾസോ.
Sir, next doubt is, can a vaccine for cancer be developed? So I think
ഈ ക്യാൻസർ എന്ന് പറയുന്നതും ഈസ് ആക്ച്വലി ഇറ്റ്സ് നോട്ട് എ സിംഗിൾ ഡിസീസ്, നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അറിയാലോ. അപ്പം ഇപ്പൊ തന്നെ വാക്സിൻ പ്രിവെന്റബിൾ ക്യാൻസർ ഉണ്ട്. എന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഹ്യൂമൻ പാപ്പിലോമ വൈറസ് എന്നൊരു സാധനം ഉണ്ട്, ദാറ്റ് ക്യാൻ കോസ് യൂട്രസിൽ ക്യാൻസർ. സോ ദർ ഈസ് വാക്സിൻ വിച്ച് ക്യാൻ പ്രിവെന്റ് എ ക്യാൻസർ ഇൻ ദ യൂട്രസ്. There is a vaccine which can prevent a cancer in the liver, that is hepatitis. അപ്പം many of these cancers are linked to infections also. അപ്പം ഡയറക്റ്റ് നമുക്ക് ഒരു ക്യാൻസറിനെതിരെ ഒരു വാക്സിൻ വെച്ചാൽ എല്ലാ ക്യാൻസറും അങ്ങനെ രീതിയിൽ ഒരിക്കലും ഡെവലപ്പ് ചെയ്ത് വരാൻ പറ്റില്ല. പക്ഷേ സ്പെസിഫിക് ആയിട്ട് എന്താണോ അതിലേക്ക് എത്തിക്കുന്നത്, പല ക്യാൻസറുകൾക്കും ഒരു ഡെഫിനറ്റ് ആയിട്ടൊരു സ്പെസിഫിക് റീസൺ അതിന്റെ പിറകുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ that can be definitely considered, and there are vaccines which can prevent cancers even at present.
Sir, one more question. This is not a related question, but I'm just reading that question. But I was just curious, can animals and birds be blind, deaf, mentally retarded, etc.?
ബ്ലൈൻഡ് ഒക്കെ ആവാൻ പറ്റുമോന്ന്. Can animals and birds be blind and mentally retarded? അതായത് നമ്മളെ ഈ ഹ്യൂമനിൽ ഉണ്ടാകുന്ന പോലെ അവർക്കും ഉണ്ടാവാൻ പറ്റുമോന്ന്.
Yes, sir, that is the question.
Definitely yes. കാരണം ഓൾമോസ്റ്റ് ഒരുവിധം എല്ലാ സാധനങ്ങളും അവരിലും പോസിബിൾ ആണ്. പക്ഷെ അവരെത്ര പേരും സർവൈവ് ചെയ്ത് വരും എന്നറിയില്ല. ബിക്കോസ് ഫോർ ദം മിനിമം കുറച്ച് സാധനങ്ങളുണ്ടല്ലോ. ഇപ്പൊ ബേർഡ്സിനാണെങ്കിൽ ഫ്ലൈയിങ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഒരു മിനിമം സാധനമായിരിക്കും. അതില്ലാത്തൊരു ബേർഡ് സർവൈവ് ചെയ്ത് പോവില്ല. കാരണം അതിന് അടുത്ത ദിവസം തന്നെ എന്തെങ്കിലും പാമ്പോ അല്ലെ വേറെ എന്തെങ്കിലും ജീവിയോ പിടിച്ചു പോകും. അതുകൊണ്ട് മനുഷ്യനെ പോലെ ഈവൻ ഹ്യൂമൻ ബീയിങ് ഹൂ കനോട്ട് വാക്ക് can still survive. അതാണ് നമ്മുടെ ഹ്യൂമന്റെ ഒരു അഡ്വാൻറ്റേജ്. ബിക്കോസ് വി ഹാവ് എ സൊസൈറ്റി, വി ഹാവ് എ എന്താ പറയുക അവർ പാരന്റൽ സിസ്റ്റം, ഓൾ ദീസ് തിങ്സ് വിച്ച് ക്യാൻ സപ്പോർട്ട് us. സോ എ ഹ്യൂമൻ ഹു ഈസ് ബോൺ ബ്ലൈൻഡ് or who is deaf or who is unable to walk can still survive because of the people around us, അല്ലെ, the group അല്ലെങ്കിൽ the society. പക്ഷെ for birds and all, when they are born with such defects, definitely they won't survive for more than few days because they can't take care of these things. അതുകൊണ്ടായിരിക്കും നമുക്ക് അങ്ങനത്തെ അധികം കാണാൻ പറ്റാത്തത്. മിക്കവാറും ബേർത്തിലോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അതിന്റെ കൂടെയോ തന്നെ നമ്മൾ കണ്ടിട്ടില്ലേ. ഇപ്പം എത്ര പേർക്ക് അറിയില്ല, പണ്ട് ഇപ്പൊ നമ്മളെ കോഴീന്റെ ഒക്കെ കുട്ടി ഉണ്ടായി കഴിഞ്ഞാല് പിന്നെ 10-12 കുട്ടികൾ ഒന്നിച്ചുണ്ടായാലും അവസാനം 1-2 കുട്ടികളാണ് കോഴികളായി മാറുന്നത്. പൂച്ച 4 കുട്ടി ഒന്നിച്ചുണ്ടായാലും അതിൽ ഒരു കുട്ടിയൊക്കെയാണ് ഒരു ഫുൾ ഗ്രോത്ത് ഉള്ള പൂച്ചയാകുന്നത്. ബാക്കിയുള്ളതൊക്കെ വഴിയിൽ എവിടേക്കോ എന്തൊക്കെയോ ആയിട്ട് നഷ്ടപ്പെട്ടു പോകും. അപ്പൊ ഇങ്ങനത്തെ ഈ ഡിഫോമിറ്റി ഉള്ള ആൾക്കാരൊക്കെ സർവൈവ് ചെയ്ത് പോവല് ബാക്കിയുള്ള ലിവിങ് ബീയിങ്സിൽ ഭയങ്കര റെയർ ആയിരിക്കും. ഇതിപ്പോ ആള് ചോദിച്ച് ജസ്റ്റ് അനദർ തോട്ട് എന്ന് പറയുന്ന പോലെ ഐ ആം ആൻസറിങ് ഫ്രം മൈ തോട്ട്സ് ഓൺലി, നീഡ് നോട്ട് ബി കറക്റ്റ് കേട്ടോ. പല രീതിയിലാണ് ചിന്തകൾ പോകുന്നത് അല്ലേ?
അതെ സർ.
നല്ലതാണ്. ഇതൊക്കെ എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ് സ്റ്റുഡൻസ് ആണോ?
Yes sir, students and other people, majority are from engineering stream.
Okay. It's very good to have such thoughts le.
Yes. Sabik sir?
Yeah.
Shall conclude?
Sabik sir ഉറങ്ങിപ്പോയോ?
ഇല്ല ഇവിടെ ഉണ്ട്.
അനക്കവും ഇല്ല കേട്ടോ.
അല്ലല്ല, നിങ്ങള് ചർച്ച ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുമ്പോൾ ഞാൻ അതിൽ ഇന്റർഫിയർ ചെയ്യേണ്ടെന്നുള്ള രീതിയിൽ
അതുകൊണ്ടല്ലേ എനിക്കൊരു പേടിയുണ്ടായിരുന്നു.
Sabik sir is actually chair of this IEEE MSS. So he's sitting the chair
Okay.
and observing all this.
ഞാനൊന്ന് പേടിച്ചു പോയി.
ഓക്കെ ഓക്കെ. അപ്പോ വളരെയധികം ഡിസ്കഷൻ നടന്നു. അതാണ് ഇതിന്റെ പോസിറ്റീവ്. കാരണം നമ്മള് വൺ വേ ടോക്കിംഗ് അല്ലാതെ there was several doubts which we've been cleared by you. That is a positive thing regarding this webinar.
So that is what we actually think. That is the more number of question means it has reached more number of people and their thoughts.
They have heard from you.
അല്ല, ശരിക്കും അതാണ് നല്ലത്.
അതെ
ഇങ്ങനെ എന്തെങ്കിലും മോണോട്ടോൺസ് പറയുന്നതിനേക്കാളും.
അതെ അതെ. രണ്ട് ഭാഗത്തു നിന്നുള്ള ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ മീൻസ് ഇന്ററാക്ഷൻ ഉണ്ടാവുമ്പോഴേ നമുക്കത് എഫക്റ്റീവ് ആവത്തുള്ളൂ.
അതെ അതെ. ഇപ്പൊ കോവിഡ് ഒക്കെ ഇപ്പൊ അവരെല്ലാരും എക്സ്പേർട്ട് ആയതുകൊണ്ടാ, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇനിയും കുറെ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് വരും. ഇതിപ്പോ കുറെ തവണ പറഞ്ഞ് അങ്ങ് എത്തിയല്ലോ.
അതെ അതെ അതെ.
അതെ, സാറിന്റെ വീഡിയോ തന്നെ എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു വാട്സപ്പിലൊക്കെ കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. സാർ തരുന്ന മെസ്സേജസ് ഒക്കെ അങ്ങനെയാണ് ഞാൻ ഈ പേര് ആദ്യമായിട്ട് കേട്ടത്. വാട്സപ്പില് ഓഡിയോ വീഡിയോ ഒക്കെ ആയിട്ട്.
അല്ല, ആദ്യകാലത്ത് ഒരുപാട് ഇറക്കുമായിരുന്നു, കാരണം എങ്ങനെങ്കിലും ഇത് പ്രിവെന്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ടേ. ഇപ്പൊ പിന്നെ ഇനിയിപ്പോ പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് കാര്യമില്ലല്ലോ, കാരണം ആ ലെവലിലേക്ക് പോകുന്നില്ലേ. ഇപ്പൊ നമുക്ക് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള എല്ലാം ചെയ്തു, പിന്നെ ആൾക്കാർക്ക് അങ്ങ് എത്തിയതിനു ശേഷമല്ലേ. അപ്പൊ ഇനി നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് കാര്യമില്ല. ഇനീഷ്യൽ പാർട്ടിൽ നമ്മൾ നല്ലോണം പിടിച്ചു.
അതെ 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 അതെ. Actually, Dr. Shamir is my senior in the school.
Oh, അങ്ങനെ relation.
That is how I reached here.
So thank you, Sabik sir, for introducing him to this community.
Yes.
Okay, so shall we conclude?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this was actually a wonderful session that started at 5:30. Actually, our session duration is from 5:30 to 6:30, but it extended not because of the boring lecture, but because of more number of queries from the audience. So that shows that how interesting was the talk, and not only interesting, how people are curious to know about the things. I think that is, we are living in this pandemic situation. The worries are not over. That is new type of, that is the virus is getting modified that as Sir told, day by day, minute by minute, its structure, its behavior is changing. COVID vaccines are getting introduced and people are getting vaccinated, but still there are worries on these vaccines, whether it will be effective. That is, our audience also asked whether it will be 100% effective or not. So many queries are there, many worries are there. So your talk gave us some hope and some takeaways. That is one step, that is, these are not new. This is happening because of that is only because of our own, that is our parents or our ancestors. All these people's actions made us or came into this pandemic situation. So what we can do is we have to do something for the environment, something for, that is as the image that you have shown in the last. That is healthy animals, healthy environment, then only healthy human being. So all those things are living hand in hand. So we have to consider the environment, we have to consider the fellow animals, then only we can live peacefully without this kind of worries and all. So thank you, sir, for this very informative session. Thank you, Shamir sir, and thank you, Sabik sir, for introducing such a nice person. And the audience, without you this session will not be a success. So I thank all the audience for patiently listening and asking doubts and interacting and all. And before leaving the session, don't forget to fill the feedback form. So fill the feedback form and then you can leave. Thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, doctor.
Okay, Sabik.
Okay, bye.
Sabik sir, may I
Ah.
leave?
Yeah. Thank you, Shabira.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Bye.